Hey, it's Monday after one of the craziest expiration days in recent history. Um, Last Friday, if you didn't, please watch the video that I sent about Jim Cramer saying that expiration day causes domestic abuse. I don't know if that's true or not, but it was nuts. And the thing that you really need to do if you're going to trade options is you have to watch your expiration calls and puts. Pin risk, options that are just barely out of the money. Um, Very essential. You can't screw this stuff up. Now, stocks, like you take a stock where things are mellow, that it's trading around $50, it's going to tend to pin, and there's nothing greater than being short premium right around pin. Like a $50 stock, if you're short that gamma, you short that straddle, every time it goes above 50, the people that are long that straddle are going to need to sell stock. Every time it goes below 50, they're going to need to buy the stock. And, chances are it's going to pin. Now, if you short it, you should still buy those back at expiration. When Leon the Magnificent had a stock that pinned, he just liked to cause chaos. If he was long a straddle, he would exercise both sides if it pinned, which means closing right at the strike, which in that case would be 50. Now, options now are automatically exercised if they're a penny in the money. And if you don't want that to happen, you have to do something like make a phone call or sell them out or do something. So let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla had a crazy day on Friday. They announced a recall that was the most unannoying recall in the history of mankind. You didn't even have to take your car in somewhere. You just had to do like a software update. And the stock was down $21. And then it was up. It came back with the inflation number where it was only down 7. Then it was down 15. Then through the day, it was actually up $7. Then a half hour before expiration, it was unchanged, and it closed the day down $15. That's not a good time to be short expiration calls, or puts. Now, if you were short the 420s or the 421s, and it did close at 421.06, which means that your 420s were automatically exercised. But you didn't want to stay short them or long them. Maybe you wanted to stay long them. I don't know. That's the thing. You don't know where this stock is going to be. If there's earnings in a stock right after expiration, that straddle could still be trading like $6. You got to be careful. Now, it did close at 421.06, but there's still a half hour left before people can make their decisions. So they basically, if you own that straddle, you got a half hour premium to scalp. And I think that stock did trade under 420, which means that if it closed under 420, you didn't want to be exercising your 421 calls. And then it did trade over 422 and then back below, back down to 420 again. So if you actually were long that gamma, long that straddle, you could scalp it for the next half hour and then decide what you wanted to do on the close. Now, if you were just short, say you were just short the 422s and you were like, man, I just got ripped, the stock, when it was down $21, if you're short these 99 delta calls, where those are puts essentially, and we'll talk about that later. You're short the 420 calls or the 421 or the 422 calls, and they were like, $15 in the money the day before expiration. You have them hedged at about a 95 delta. Those puts were probably trading like 30-40 cents, and you were like, oh man, I'm going to make that premium. No, you weren't. suddenly it opened down $21, and then you could either pray that it's going to come back, or you got liquidated, or you sold the stock out and you got delta neutral again, only to have your heart ripped apart because now you're short calls, and now the stock comes all the way back and it's up $7. And then you're like, oh my God, now I'm short, and now you got to buy stock or you got to pray. And then it goes down and it closes down $15. Then you're like, after the close, what do you do with the 422s? Well, you got a half hour. You better, in my opinion, even though they're probably trading a quarter, you better buy them back, because by 5 p.m. that night, the stock was trading $425. So these things that were out of the money, somebody that was actually paying attention for that half hour probably exercised their 422s. If you were short them, they were $3 in the money 3 hours later. And then right now, the stock is trading $430. So these calls that were supposedly worthless, that expired on Friday, they're now worth $8 for somebody that was paying attention. So your day on expiration is not over. You can't just take it at 4 p.m. Eastern time and say, oh, my 422s, they're worthless. Thank God I got torn apart. I lost hundreds and thousands of dollars today, but at least, I'm going to make 30 cents on my 422s. I'm not buying them back. Well, it's trading 430 now. So this has happened to me before. When I was on the SIBO, I put out a time spread in AT&T, a put time spread, and it pinned, which is the best thing that can possibly happen for a time spread. The only problem was I wasn't at work at expiration. I had to do something, and my partners didn't go through all the sheets. There were sheets back then. This was before everything was computerized, and look at our pins. And what happened was, it pinned, and that means that we don't know. What they should have done was they should have bought the puts that I was short in the short term that expired back for like a penny or even 6 cents, and then hedged the other puts or sold the other puts and gotten out of it, because it closed exactly at the best possible place and we made a lot of money. Instead, nobody exercised the puts in that we were short, and the stock was up big, and they turned a big winner into a big loser. There's nothing you want to do than turn a big winner into a big loser by being lazy. And you probably shouldn't be trading options in Tesla at all, because it's $430. But if you're long them or short them, if you were long the 422 puts, hopefully you hedged them or you sold them or you did something, because you're going to be short. They're going to get exercised and you're going to be short stock, and it's $8 higher now. So your day on expiration does not end at 1 p.m., especially if there's earnings. Your day isn't over until 1:30, and this expiration stuff, unless it's the most laggard stock in the world that never ever moves and it pins, you should buy that stuff back. You got to be careful of your pins. Be careful of the out of the monies, especially in a stock that's been down 21, only down 7, then down 15, then up 7, then unchanged a half hour before expiration, and then down $15 a half hour later, and now it's basically all the way back on Monday morning. People are paying attention. They see where things are going. You're going to get, even if you were short the 423s, you probably got a sign on those. You got to buy these things back. You shouldn't be trading these things that are crazy, crazy nuts. The hope is that things will mellow out today, and we'll have volatility come in, and things will just decay as we have a peaceful time. as Donald Trump talks about wanting to take over the Panama Canal and buy Greenland. What would we do with Greenland? Um, have fun, but be careful of your expiration pins. It's very important.